Some of us choose words and images, brushstrokes and moving pictures, music and movement to tell a story. But not these two. Theirs is a story written in the language of roses. In a little over 50 years, they have inscribed their tales in the petals of roses, in the scent of rhododendron in bloom, in pollen adrift in the winter breeze. Viru at the age of 18, found himself standing awestruck before a rose bush in full bloom. In that moment, an inner function had whirred to life, and little Viru had turned his gaze towards the wondrous world of roses. Girija, who had spent her childhood and teenage years mostly buried in books, met Viru in 1960 and married him that same year. In 1980, Viru and Girija moved to their home in Kodaikanal to set up their garden and give all their time to breed Indian rose varieties. It is in this house that their story really began. Built in 1910, with both halves mirroring each other like the inhabitants themselves, it was where they brought into being 100 new varieties of roses. But before that, one can wonder, what is remarkable about breeding roses? Viru and Girija will tell you that it is not just two different roses being brought together to make a new one. It is the coming into being of something that has not existed before. It is to add one tiny stroke to the tapestry of all life that has existed on earth. For one such flower to bloom for the very first time is no ordinary thing. To bring to life roses that could thrive and flourish in the Indian climes, Viru and Girija first set out to find roses that grew in the wild. Their search for wild roses had them traversing the length and breadth of the country. They walked the deepest woods, roamed evergreen forests, and climbed up mountain tops, just so they could find a wild rose. From there began their experiment with roses and rhododendrons too. Viru and Girija took great care in naming their creations. Allegory of Spring, Incense Indigo, Twilight Tryst, Magic East, Coffee Country Ganges Nimmo, Kindly Light, Monsoon Magic, out of India. Among them was one that didn't have thorns, Ahimsa, and one that Viru named for Girija, Priyatama, the beloved. The language of roses was one that was handed to Viru and Girija Viragavan. The alphabets they used to string together sentences that made up their own story was given to them, an inheritance from the great explorers. The botanists and the biologists, the scientists and the curious ones, who for years roamed forgotten lands, the swamps and the wetlands, the bogs and the marshes and the desert kingdoms, dedicating entire lives to the science of plants and the natural world. Their names today nearly forgotten, their stories only feebly illuminated by a fading light. In Lockerbie, Scotland, stands a tombstone overcome by moss in the name of this gentleman, Sir George Watt, an intrepid explorer who scoured the wild South Asia in search of undiscovered species of plants. His contribution to the study of plants is today the foundation to countless scientists studying botany. Nearby, in the Botanic Garden at Logan, today stands a rose in bloom. It has been named Sir George Watt, a creation of Viru and Girija, in silent tribute to the contributions by the explorer, so that his story will never be forgotten, so that his name will never leave the collective memory of the future generations. This is Viru and Girija's offering, his incredible story written in the language of roses. Similarly, there are roses blooming with the names General Sir Henry Collett, Frank Kingdom Ward, Le Chenal de la Tour, in glorious homage to the people we owe so much of our knowledge today. Then more recently, Viru and Girija revealed to the world a rose in the name of E.K. Janaki Amar, a cat-loving, steadfast and persevering botanist responsible for the sweetness of the Indian sugarcane variety. The E.K. Janaki Amar rose is soft, dark, creamy, with saffron staining its petals, in silent remembrance of the saffron saris that she wore every day. And the rose named for her grows in the institutions she served: Botanical Survey of India, Howrah, Bengal; John Innes Institute, Norfolk; Kew Gardens, and the Royal Horticultural Society Garden, Wisley, all in the UK. A flower, any flower, every flower, once it blooms, it offers itself to the universe, so that life may flourish, so that life may blossom. Viru and Girija's tireless work over the past 50 years in exploration, in conservation, in preservation and storytelling is in its humblest form an offering to all of us who might sometimes wonder, what is the place of flowers in our universe? And then, what is ours in theirs? When asked, what is it they wish for more than anything, they say,
I have a dream that our roses should be growing in many, many gardens all across the world. Much after we have gone, they will be our small contribution to the beauty of this world.
As a very young man, I had a vision to see that one day roses would grow in the flower borders along the Chennai Marina beach. Enamored by this idea, we began a quest for beautiful, easily grown roses for tropical warmth. Several decades in advance of today's alarm at the warming world and the consequences thereof for life on earth, we sincerely feel that this paradise of warm climate roses is visible but not fully attained so far. The road is clear, but more travelers are required, not just the two of us.